Welcome to This Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to be your guide today because we've got a truly fascinating mystery to unravel. You know, when you type a question into an artificial intelligence, it usually spits out an answer that feels incredibly authoritative. It feels almost magical, right? Like it's just reaching out into the universe and pulling down the pure objective truth. But how does that AI actually formulate its answers? What is really going on behind the scenes? And what linguistic tricks is it using to sound so smart? Well, that is exactly what we're going to unpack today. I want you to hold this central question in your mind as we go through this explainer. Does an AI actually answer your question, or does it just answer your data? We tend to assume machines are purely objective. We think, if you and I ask a machine the exact same question, we should get the exact same answer. But in the digital age, we're constantly leaving behind this massive trail of data. And as we're about to see, that data profoundly changes the nature of the truth the machine actually gives you back. To figure this out, we're going to lean on some seriously brilliant and rigorous academic research. Today's explainer is based entirely on a fascinating paper by researcher Tiago Cesar da Costa Carneiro. It was published in Cadernos de Linguística, which is a highly respected journal produced by the Brazilian Linguistics Association. We're going to impartially look at the data and the linguistic analysis Carneiro provides to see exactly how artificial intelligence constructs its realities. The original title of the paper we're looking at is in Portuguese, Quanto vale ser sujeito? Efectos de sujeito na constituição do arquivo de Barno X. In English, that translates roughly to, how much is it worth to be a subject? Effects of subject on the constitution of the archive of/in X. The platform X, which we used to call Twitter, recently integrated its own AI called Grok, and Carneiro's study asks a really profound question. What does it mean to be a subject? A human user with a history, a digital footprint, and an identity within the massive digital archive that AI uses to build its answers. Okay, let's dive into this. To actually test the AI, the researcher needed to use what is called an enunciado comando. In the everyday tech world, you'd probably just call this a prompt. But in discourse analysis, an enunciado comando is a lot more than just a line of code. It's a statement shaped by human ideology, asking a machine to perform a technical practice. To keep the whole experiment completely neutral but historically weighty, Carneiro chose a very specific, simple prompt in Portuguese, o que é ditadura, meaning, what is a dictatorship? Now, to act as a proper digital detective, Carneiro couldn't just ask the question once. He had to isolate the variables to see how Grok actually ticks. So he asked, what is a dictatorship, under 4 very distinct conditions. First, he used his own personal profile on the free version of X. Second, his personal profile on the paid premium version. Third, a completely blank, brand new profile on the free version. And finally, that same blank profile on the paid version. By comparing these 4 outputs side by side, the inner workings of the AI are suddenly dragged right into the light. Which brings us to the first major revelation of the study, finding 1, the data bias. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is what happens when the machine has access to your personal history versus a complete stranger's. Notice how the AI totally tailors its historical examples here. When Grok answered the personal profile, which had years and years of browsing data and user history, it gave the definition, but then specifically cited the military regime in Brazil and Augusto Pinochet in Chile. But when it answered the totally blank, new profile, the AI gave the definition but then cited the Brazilian regime and Adolf Hitler in Nazi Germany. Why the difference? Well, because the AI is reading the user. It's trying to offer historical examples that it calculates will be more relevant to the specific data footprint of that profile. The blank profile just gets the most universally recognized default example. But what happens when you introduce money into the equation? That brings us to finding 2, the premium illusion. And this brilliantly illustrates the difference between paying for access and getting it for free. X, like so many platforms, offers a paid tier that promises better, more advanced AI. But does paying actually buy you better knowledge? Carneiro compared the answers from the free version and the paid premium version. In the free version, you get a solid block paragraph defining the concept. But in the premium version, you get bullet points: suppression of freedoms, repression and control, absence of popular participation. Visually, the premium answer looks highly analytical, incredibly structured and sophisticated. It literally feels like you're getting a premium product. But linguistically, it is exactly the same information. In the field of discourse analysis, there is a core concept for this trick, paraphrase or paraphrase. It's basically when you say the exact same thing using entirely different syntactic structures. The AI is absolutely not generating new, deeper knowledge for paying subscribers.
It's just applying a paraphrase function to break a paragraph into a bulleted list. It mimics depth and refinement to create the illusion of added value. It's a clever linguistic trick to make you feel like your subscription fee was totally worth it.
Carneiro summarizes this brilliantly in the paper. He writes that the AI is basically taking the human user, the subject raw material, and calculating a response. It compares structures, and discursively, it just points to the exact same meaning. Think about that. It treats our data, our profiles, and our subscription fees simply as raw material to repackage the same underlying information in a slightly different outfit. Which leads us perfectly into our final major insight. Finding 3, the universal default. If the examples change based on your data and the formatting changes based on your wallet, what actually stays the same? Across the personal profile, the blank profile, the free version, and the paid version, every single response relied on this exact same core definition: an authoritarian political regime, power concentrated in a person or group, suppression of individual rights, lack of democratic freedoms. Despite all the algorithmic gymnastics, the customized historical examples and the fancy bullet points, the AI fundamentally relied on a highly homogenized, dictionary-style definition. So the crucial point is this: Grok, and generative AI in general, homogenizes meaning. Look, human language is messy. It's full of contradictions, massive debates, and historical complexities. But in AI, it doesn't like messy. The AI seeks a universal, stable truth to literally hide those complexities. By providing a clean, dictionary-like definition wrapped in this super confident tone, the AI projects an illusion of complete objectivity. It makes it seem like there's only one way to view the world. And hey, the AI holds the definitive answer. Let's bring this all together under the grand philosophical and financial takeaway of the experiment: the price of being a subject. To conduct this highly controlled experiment, the researcher actually had to pay for 2 premium subscriptions to X to test the different profiles. The total financial cost, 340 Brazilian reais. We are literally paying tech companies to access a mirror. In the digital age, we pay with our data and sometimes with our hard-earned money to access an illusion of knowledge that is crafted directly from our own digital footprints. We are quite literally buying back our own raw material repackaged by an algorithm. And that leaves us with the exact question that Carneiro poses in the title of his incredible paper: Quanto vale ser sujeto na era digital? How much is it worth to be a subject in the digital age? When you look at a screen and ask an AI a question, who is really directing that conversation? Is the machine teaching you something new, or is it just echoing your own data back to you in neat little bullet points? Next time you use an AI, I want you to look closely at the answer and ask yourself, is it answering my question, or is it just answering me? Thank you so much for exploring this with me today, and keep questioning what you see on the screen.